Hi, I'm Scott Wrighton, and I serve as Decatur City Manager, and we're very fortunate that we have the technology and now the staff to produce a video like this every week to help keep those of you who tune in to learn more about what's going on with your city government. The first thing I want to talk about today, which has been in the news, has been a recent announcement by Decatur Ambulance Service that in September sometime they'll be ceasing operations. Now, they're required by law to give a notice about this at least 60 days out. The real issue is, what are the steps that are going to be taken to make sure that Decatur residents have a reliable service in the event that they need EMS services, emergency medical services? So the current model, and the model that's been used for half a century in Decatur, is what we call the privatized model, where a private company, not a unit of government, but a private company, operates the ambulance service, and in addition to providing emergency and 911 medical response, they also operate what we call non-emergency medical transfers, which produce enough revenue that, combined with the operations of emergency medical and 911 response, they can make a viable business out of it. And in fact, that's a model much used here in central Illinois. You have that same arrangement in Springfield and in Champaign, in Peoria, and several other cities. So we're looking to continue that model, both because that's what we had here before, but also because it's the quickest to ramp up and to scale up. St. Mary's wants to get out of the business of emergency medical response and DAS as quickly as possible, and the lead times on acquiring new equipment with COVID-related supply chain issues, regulatory issues about getting any kind of an agency, public or private, licensed and certified to provide emergency medical service requires a lot of time. So the quickest way for us to get scaled up is to invite an existing company that has already gone over those hurdles, already has the equipment, already has the certifications from the state of Illinois to come into Decatur and offer this. So the city has issued today an invitation to submit proposals. Now, there's not actually going to be a financial transaction between the city of Decatur and a selected set of emergency medical service providers, but the city of Decatur issues the license which authorizes them to provide that service in Decatur, and by extension to rural areas around Decatur and Macon County and some of the other counties that Decatur Ambulance serves. So we'll be writing point, if you will, managing to a certain degree how this process works. And because of St. Mary's timetable, we're anxious to move forward with it as quickly as possible. Not only does this model work because it's what's been here for a long time, and because it can be scaled up and implemented the most quickly as well, it's also the cheapest for the taxpayers. Governments that run ambulance as an extension of their existing city departments end up paying a substantially greater amount of money, and the taxpayers have to foot that bill. So we're trying to make the existing model work, and that's how we're going to be doing it. So we've already sent out and identified about 7 or 8 ambulance companies that are already in the business that we think have the ability, the size, and the capacity to service the Decatur market. And it might require that we have one or more of them. Certainly in both in Champaign and Springfield, they're serviced by more than one ambulance provider, although here in Decatur, historically, it's only been one ambulance provider. It's probably better in the current environment for us to have more than one, but we'll see what kind of responses that we get. The city is thankful to HS St. Mary's for their decision to try to keep DAS in operation as long as possible so that this transfer to a different company can be as seamless as possible, and so that our citizens don't suffer any kind of lack of contiguity or have any period of time where there is no service. Not only the city of Decatur, but our other partners, St. Mary's Hospital, Decatur Memorial Hospital, the Central Illinois Regional Dispatch, and some other partners are all keen on making sure that we don't have any interruption of service. So I want to put citizens at ease about that. That, of course, is our primary goal, as well as making sure that we have good service moving forward to service the needs of Decatur in as most efficient a way as possible. Clearly, you can tell from my description that there's going to be more information about this as it moves forward, and I look forward to talking to you about some of that in the weeks ahead. Summertime is also a time when we're doing a lot of construction, and so I wanted to update you on some information not only about the city's construction projects, but also the ones that the Illinois Department of Transportation is doing, because the most heavily traveled roads in Decatur, for the most part, are those that are actually owned by IDOT. Routes 36 and 51, 121, 48, and 105. Since 2019, we've had a city-state agreement in place for IDOT to do a improvement of West 36 from Church Street downtown all the way west to Fairview. The project hasn't been let yet to a contractor because the state has had just insurmountable problems getting all of the right-of-way acquired. The right-of-way that they need is actually a lot of small parcels for sidewalk work and driveway approach work and so forth, but they've had trouble getting property owners to cooperate with IDOT. So that has pushed the project back, and probably now, because of those delays in acquiring property, it probably will not actually go to bid until the end of this year, which means we won't see construction on that important part of West Eldorado until the spring. We have awarded contracts, however, to a contractor who's going to be doing major work, including deck work, on the William Street Bridge over Lake Decatur. It's already been awarded, although he hasn't mobilized on site. Once he does, then traffic going across the William Street Bridge there on Route 105 will be impacted. I expect that construction will begin around September, and so we know of at least one major fun run here in Decatur, that the Shoreline Classic that uses the William Street Bridge, and so there will be some traffic congestion once that project starts, and it's expected to go for several months. Another project that'll be beginning in the current construction year is South 51 from Cleveland Street. Now that's a local street on the south side of Decatur, right before you go across the bridge. If you're going south on Main Street, the last street you can turn before you have to make a decision about going across the lake or taking Lakeshore Drive, that's Cleveland. And Cleveland is where north of that the city has responsibility, and south of that the state does, all the way out to the bypass at Elwyn. And so they'll be working on that piece all the way out from Cleveland, north of the dam and north of the lake, all the way through South Shores and out to Elwyn. Many of you know, if you travel that route, there's some really rough patches in there. And so a mill and overlay and some other improvements are all going to be beginning this year. And those of you who travel North 51 between Pershing and Interstate 72 know that project has already started. The contractor's already on site with a milling and overlay there, as well as some adjoining sidewalk and curb work. The work on 51 north of I-72 will be in a separate contract that goes through Forsyth and on up to the Macon County line. The last project I want to mention briefly is at the corner of 36 and Airport Road and Mount Zion Road. The work that was done last year on 36, that great repaving all across the bridge and up into 5 Points, ended right before you get to the Mount Zion Road Airport Road intersection. And so the rest of that intersection from that seam point all the way on all parts of the intersection, and then continuing east way past Decatur to Illinois Route 32 will all be a part of their construction projects for this year, beginning of this year. Whether or not that one finishes, I'm not sure, but get ready for some short-term inconvenience if you're in one of the areas that I've mentioned. We appreciate your patience. There's no way that our roads and streets can be improved and make them better on your car, better to see without some short-term inconvenience. And so I hope that you'll be patient with the crews that are working on it. Finally, I want to mention, as you all know, we're coming into the July 4th Independence Day holiday, and I hope that you'll be safe. The city gets more calls than it can respond to be honest with you, about fireworks. And we do try to respond when the nature of a fireworks call is clearly one of safety, but simply because somebody's setting off some small ones in their driveway has been one that, although it is technically against the law, it has been difficult for our police to respond to all of them, given the amount of calls and other demands on the police department's time. But enjoy the festivities and be safe going into the holiday weekend. As a result of July 4th falling on a Monday, our regular city council meeting that would have been on that day has been moved to Tuesday, the 5th of July. But that doesn't affect most of you. What does affect you is that you have the day off to enjoy a holiday, so we hope that you'll have a great holiday. I look forward to talking to you again at our next weekly video. Thanks for tuning in.